Hey there, it's LG, and today I'm going to talk to you about my UX research journey. I'm doing this for the young Lauren Graces of the world that did not have a woman of color in tech to look up to. These are very cool glasses that I have on. I'm sure they'll be like, oh, she has cool glasses and she has a cool job. I want to be like her. This may also serve as an update for folks that I used to go to high school with. Unfortunately, we didn't have a 10-year high school reunion, but if you're watching this, hello, here's my update. If you don't know what a UX researcher is or a user experience researcher, the way I describe it to my parents and my aunties and my uncles is, I'm someone that studies how folks use their computer or their mobile device, and eventually I tell a product person or a design person how to make that experience more intuitive and user-friendly for them. I've been in the UX research world for a little over 6 years. Currently, I'm a senior user researcher in the cloud infrastructure world, but I actually started off as an intern in the product space, and I ended up creating my own role on a UX team. So I'll get to that a little bit later. Needless to say, that's all the grit, ambition, and hustle that I have to share with you. Okay, so let's begin with college. I graduated with a degree in communication studies and a minor in linguistics at San Francisco State, but I intended to go to college to do pre-med, eventually become a dentist, and follow the model minority myth trail. But I realized that that just wasn't something that I could do to myself. Choosing from being a doctor, a nurse, an engineer, a lawyer, am I missing one? That's just not gonna cut it for me. And besides that, I really sucked at OChem. I sucked at calculus, and I sucked at physics. And I really had no interest in that. I like talking to people, I like learning about people, I like learning about cultures, so I switched to communications. I had courses that talked to me about intersectionality. Intersectional identity is really important when you consider a whole person. There are different facets when we're talking about their race, gender, ethnicity, sex, socioeconomic status, religion. These are things that I was particularly interested in when I'm engaging with somebody. And that helped me understand how to develop and practice empathy. Empathy is one of the big buzzwords in the world of UX research, UX. I was able to kind of develop that very early on. I didn't realize that was gonna help me now in my career, but I'm thankful that I made that decision for myself. So after I graduated from SF State, I was still in the Bay Area. One of the things that was really popping at the time was Silicon Valley. And all these tech startups were popping up, doing their thing, trying to raise money, venture capitalist stuff. I just thought that was dope and I wanted to learn more about it. So I ended up getting a full-time job at a startup in San Francisco doing customer support. Bless anyone that has ever done or is currently doing customer support, because that is a thankless job. I didn't really enjoy that experience. I didn't really like the environment in which I was in, but I think what was important was that I tried. I decided to leave that job and start over. I took an internship at a higher education publishing company, and during the time that I joined, they were actually moving from the print to the digital space. I came in as a product intern, but I ended up working very closely with the UX team. One of the first projects that I worked on was piloting a biology prototype. I was pretending to be the student, basically our demographic, and I was trying to interact with a biology prototype about photosynthesis. What I realized we were trying to do was understand how students think, feel, and experience what is going on when they're learning through our materials. Eventually, I got to sit in on these sessions, observe how a UX researcher would be interviewing a student. I would take notes in those sessions, and then I would be able to come and meet with the UX team to debrief about what we've learned. This UX researcher that I was working with on these projects eventually became the executive director of user experience. And she was a really great mentor in terms of trying to take me under her wing and try to expose me to the kind of bread and butter for usability testing or conducting these interviews. I was an A+ intern. I was on top of but I just didn't know like how long this would really last. My internship ended up getting extended from 3 months to 6 months. And eventually they created a full-time role for me, which was amazing. So I became an entry-level research associate. I was just super grateful for that to happen. I know the chief product officer knew who the heck I was, so shout out to you, Jim. So one of the first projects I actually worked on was a longitudinal research project. Longitudinal, yes, is a long word. What that essentially means is a study that's conducted over time. So I was involved in this project, and we were studying students across the United States to better understand what their day-to-day lives look like. I was actually kind of like project managing it for about 3 years. I was also overseeing about like 25 different employees from different parts of the organization in different locations. They were paired up with these students, and basically I had to facilitate meetings to better understand what sort of themes or experiences are these students going through. I did a lot of growing in that. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Thankfully, I did have another researcher to help me work on this project, so thank you, Raymond. But I learned that there's a difference between exploratory research, more tactical research. I was able to do diary studies, which was super dope. These are things that I don't know, looking back, would never be a first sort of experience for a junior level researcher. But I feel blessed in that I got that exposure and I had people helping me along the way. So I was still very curious at the time while I was learning on the job and everything about what other kind of jobs in UX existed. I took the time to look up some UX research roles if I were to, level up essentially. And I found out that most of these roles require a master's degree or PhD in things like human-computer interaction, cognitive psychology, anthropology, or something related. I'm just pretty sure that at this time, most of these companies are looking for folks from Stanford or MIT. It's very competitive. The tech world is very competitive. And I'm just someone that graduated from San Francisco State with a communications degree. I don't want to say I felt like nobody, but that wasn't going to stop me. I knew that if I wanted to take up a master's degree or some other credential, that I wanted to be invested in that. I found a program online through USC. I got into the program and I was on my way to earn a Master's of Science in Integrated Design, Business, and Technology. And this is under the school for Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine. And I was gonna be part of the first cohort for this. So I attended my program at USC full-time. I was still working at the publishing company full-time, but I made it work. In terms of what I learned in my program, I did a lot of design thinking exercises. We did a lot of idea pitches, very similar to the form of Shark Tank. But what was most important to me was the cross-functional collaboration I got to do. I got to work with people from different industries and different departments. They had different levels of experience. All of these folks were brilliant. I also learned that a couple of my colleagues worked at 2U. And 2U provided the online platform for me to go to school. So essentially, me being able to access my coursework, me being able to access my grades, things like that, they were the company that provided that experience. And they were in the higher education space, and I was still working in higher ed publishing, but I thought that this would be an interesting transition for me if there was an opportunity open. And there was. So I reached out to my homegirl, Kelly, who worked at 2U. She referred me. I got an interview, and then I got the job. This experience was so dope because this job was in New York. I was tired of working in San Francisco for the longest time because that tech experience was just really draining. I was working really long hours when I was still a junior researcher. I'm the type of person to just do the most. I'm very ambitious, and I'm pretty much a type A person. So I needed something different, and I've always wanted to move to New York. So I moved to take this job. I was still in this program, mind you, but that was just what it is. And lastly, I think it's most important to remember that I needed to stay in my lane. I had gotten rejections previously from other tech companies in San Francisco, and I realized that honestly, they probably just don't want Bay Area native talent. Y'all are just pushing everyone away. I decided to move and use my talents elsewhere. One of the more notable projects I worked on at 2U was usability testing the redesign of the new learning management system. It's basically what I described to you when 2U provides the online platform for me to access my courses. That was just a completely different experience that we wanted to just test. And because I worked on that project and a few other folks, obviously from the UX team, got a lot of attention because we were the ones that were focusing on these students and instructors. So I had the opportunity with a few of my colleagues on the team to go to headquarters to share about who the UX team is, what we do, what our process looks like, how we talk to our users, etc. And that was the first time at the organization that people know who the UX team is. So I was just riding that wave. I really feel like from that panel that people started to notice me in the organization. Next thing you know, I ended up emceeing 2U's company meeting in Vegas. This was in June 2019. I finished my master's program at USC in May of 2019. These little moments of self-realization happened back to back, but I think also it was very rewarding to see all of that just come into fruition. I'll just leave it at that. You can see some images. After riding the high of my graduation and doing the MC thing, I knew I was trying to level up. Like, I wanted a title change, I wanted a raise, but I knew that I wasn't gonna get it at 2U. And that's okay, like those things happen. When you know that you've milked all the opportunities that you can get when they're given to you or when you work for something, that's fine. It's time probably to move on. So at the end of 2019, December, I believe, I got an offer for a senior user research position at my current company. You can look it up on LinkedIn if you like. But what's most important about this experience is that I negotiated my salary. I know a lot of people are scared of opening their mouths and telling people what they think they're worth, but what's most important is that you at least get your no. And if you get your no, then fine, counteroffer, whatever. But I really want to encourage people, especially women, especially people of color, that this is an option that you can try. So I got the job. This was really exciting because it was a different industry that I was in. Cloud computing sounds so... It's not Google Drive, people. It's not that kind of cloud. And I'm still learning about what that means. I'm still learning about our products and our services. But what's most important is that this organization has let me exercise different sort of research methodologies that I haven't previously experienced. I've been able to use jobs to be done as a framework for a lot of my research. Even though I've only used it once in my lifetime, I get to use it on a day-to-day basis. Folks in the organization talk about using it on a day-to-day basis. They're more in a mindset of focusing on their users because they have the toolkit that they need in order for them to do the research and talk about it. I'm also learning about a different demographic of users like developers, engineers. I still don't know what's the difference, but it's different and I'm learning. And I continue to learn and I hope to grow to be a better researcher. I can't tell you exactly what the next step is for me. I'm happy where I'm at, but I hope me sharing this with you and just being vulnerable is an opportunity for you to think about what's most important to you. Whether or not you want to be a UX researcher, that's up to you. I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to share my story with you, give you some inspiration, give you some realness, let you know that I secured the bag, you can do it too. So if you're still with me and you're still watching this video, thank you so much for listening. If there's anything else you want to know about UX or anything else about me, let me know in the comments or find me on Instagram, all right?